Coming up next on The Local Show, helping people grieve the death of a pet.
Plus, how online dating technology is helping reduce teacher turnover.
Our Perform Arts series visits the Jewish Community Center.
And we'll meet some kids who know a whole lot about geography.
Principal funding for The Local Show provided by Francis Family Foundation, Frederick and Louise Hartwig Family Fund, Kaufman Foundation, Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, Johnson County Community College, John and Effie Spees Memorial Trust, Bank of America trustee, Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Arts, Commerce Bank trustee, and KCPT members. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nick Haynes.
And I'm Randy Mason. Welcome to The Local Show. Anyone who's experienced the death of a pet knows just how heartbreaking that can be.
The tale of a middle-aged woman so devastated by her dog's death that she had to be placed on life support is an extreme example. But pet owners who report trouble eating and sleeping even months after a loss are common. And Kansas City mental health professionals say that a pet's death can trigger chronic depression.
At the Struan Center in South Kansas City, psychologist Dr. Raphael Smith runs a regular pet grief therapy session. Recently, KCPT got a rare opportunity to witness one of their meetings.
I'm here for Chewy. He suddenly developed cancer of the spleen, and we had to have him euthanized. He came into our lives right after some serious heart problems that I had had, and he was a big assist for me in the recovery.
He was, I said, my Prince Charming, because I think he's the best guy I've ever picked. I take him out to a park, and they were in complete attention on a squirrel. A squirrel. It looked so innocent. And the park had a hole in the fence. And I found him on the side of Warnell Road.
I was lost without him. We were together constantly. I'm retired, my wife worked, so he and I were home all day. And suddenly there was no little dog in the house anymore.
I felt so much guilt. So much guilt. Still can't drive down Warnell Road.
She died in my arms after she was euthanized. We'd fought kidney disease together for 7 years, but it finally became too much. And she took her last breath in my arms, and I miss her so much.
One of the first tools I think I provide to individuals who come to me with a grief over their pet loss experience is being able to talk about it, to being able to put words and verbalize the emotions that's going on inside.
I had lost my mom in a wrongful death 3 years ago. I lost my father a year ago, and this was the third loss. And I have no family, and it just gutted me. And if it wasn't for this group, I really, really, really appreciated it.
Have you gotten a better sense of what gift they have left you with?
Chewy gave me the gift of life. I was in the hospital twice within a week of each other. Almost died. At one point, I was given no hope. I came home and he came to live with us. He made it possible while I was sitting there for all those weeks, convalescing, to realize how lucky I was and to have him there, cuddled up in my lap or next to me on the bed. And I had a companion when my wife wasn't there.
Nobody liked my food as much as Rhett. I never cooked for a man that was so appreciative. The nose would twitch and there was no way you were getting him out of there.
Here we are, for some of us, it's been a year or so later, and other people are still wondering why we're grieving. How do you explain that to them?
One of my friends, I mentioned something, and she said, "Oh, you're still having a hard time with that?" I didn't really say anything, but I think the look on my face, and I got a beautiful card. She just wanted to apologize for her reaction and to let me know that I really have opened up her mind to really understanding the love that an animal and a person can have.
Grief is so fearful for people, no matter what, that they don't know what to say. they don't want to go there for fear it's contaminating them somehow. They'll catch it.
There's this great description about how the animals are there when you go to bed, when you get up, during all the most intimate times of your life. You are in your underwear in front of them, like all the time. That's another good way of trying to help people understand. It's like, this is a family member.
Right. And unlike children and adolescents, they don't suddenly become self-sufficient. They will always rely on us.
I think death is so taboo. We don't talk about it. No one teaches us how to deal with it. Even when a human is lost, people say the dumbest things. You know, I'm sure you have heard them.
One of the questions that gets very annoying is, are you going to get another dog? That just aggravates the heck out of me.
We usually start off with some anger. We usually start off with some guilt. And if we've had to make that decision to euthanize, we experience a lot of regret. How have you dealt with those three top emotions?
What I do is I write down everything I can think about. You know, I think about the way she snored, or I think about the way she did this cat dance.
My other little dog, the little white one, she wouldn't get out of the car. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't do anything. She'd squat. So I decided, we're desperate. Petfinders.com, this one's cuddly, I'll take it. Just like that. And be it wrong or right, to see them wrestling and playing together is a healthy way to go on. It makes me compare to what I lost, but the new little guy needed a home too.
I was so grateful that I don't think I would have realized how grateful that I am if I hadn't heard other people's stories.
You know, sometimes we laugh a lot in this group, but we also can feel very, you know, comfortable crying.
This group has been a godsend for me because we all have the same problem and we all understand each other.
Where else can we go once a month and talk about our fur babies?
That's right. That's right.
Grief can lead to more serious depression, and by assisting individuals in recognizing the signs helps them to better accept the loss and to move back to a healthy perspective after it.
Producer Justin Bond taking us inside the Struan Center, which offers pet loss, grief counseling, and support groups. Learn more at thelocalshow.org.
Well, here's a surprising statistic. 30% of new school teachers quit after 3 years on the job, and half leave the classroom within 5 years. The biggest reason? According to the Gates Foundation, it's not the pay or that they don't like teaching.
It's that they don't like the school they're teaching in. Just not a good fit, which is where myedmatch.com comes in.
When it comes to dating, Michelle doesn't want more dates. She wants better dates.
Much like online dating brings together people looking for love, this website matches teachers to schools. Its founders believe so strongly in it that they left their high-profile education jobs to start the venture. Monroe Richardson was a vice president at the Kauffman Foundation, and Alicia Herold, the head of Kansas City's Teach for America. This is being called a sort of Match.com, an eHarmony of education jobs. Does that make you flinch when you hear that sort of analogy, Monroe?
It doesn't make me flinch. Actually, I think it's quite genius. What we're doing is taking something that's worked in another domain, namely helping couples find each other, and moving it into education, which is an opportunity to help teachers and schools find each other.
Now, how did this concept come about, Alicia?
So the reason why I don't flinch is because I was actually online dating. And so
that's where it came from.
That's where it came from. So in my previous role, I was the executive director with Teach for America Kansas City, and focused a lot on human capital. How do we better attract teachers here, help place them in high-fit schools? And I was in business school and studying a lot about innovation. And so it all said, start with the big problem in your life. What keeps you up at night? And what was keeping me up at night literally was talent when it comes to human capital. Professionally, trying to find teachers, recruit them to Kansas City, and personally, trying to find my perfect match.
Now, we heard at the very beginning that it is not pay that is taking teachers out of the classroom. It is not that they don't want to teach anymore. It is that fit, the working conditions that is taking up to a half of new teachers out of the classroom after 5 years. Really, Monroe?
It's true. When you look at what it is that teachers tell us in terms of why they're leaving, many of us think that it's the pay, right? And it's true, teachers aren't paid that much, and many would argue teachers aren't paid enough. But when you look at why teachers leave, the reasons they point to, it has everything to do with not feeling like they have a good fit with where they're working. And what we realized is that there was no easy way for teachers to figure this out. It's hard to look at a school's website and to see, does this school align with my beliefs about education, who I am, what I bring to the job, and what I'm looking for. And so we felt like there was a huge opportunity to fix this problem. What we have is, in many ways, described as a leaky bucket. So we're pouring new teachers into the bucket every year as we are seeing an exodus of teachers, particularly new teachers, leaving the profession. And as a result, over the last 20 years, the typical teacher, in terms of the number of years of experience, has declined from roughly about 15 years of experience in the late 80s to less than 3 years now.
Now, myedmatch.com then is about trying to find that fit between teachers and schools. But if you went onto a dating site, they're going to ask you, are you a smoker, a non-smoker? Do you like pets? Are you more interested in, say, horror movies or romantic comedies?
You
Italian?
visited these sites. You know this pretty well.
I had to do my research for this program. But how are you finding that fit then when it comes to teachers? What kind of questions are you asking?
I'd say twofold. First, we've actually developed a proprietary matching algorithm. So we've taken from both research of what makes high-performing schools and some of the frameworks that are out there in education to develop this algorithm that's along 7 core dimensions in education. So it starts with the mission.
You're sounding like eHarmony right now. Okay.
Yes, we have that algorithm. So it, is really tailored specifically for K-12 education and what matters most. And then on the second part of it, our profiles are tailored specifically with information that the other side has told us they want to see. We ask the schools to fill out information that speaks directly to teacher candidates about what's most important to them. How much autonomy am I going to have? What curriculum do I use? What additional expectations do you have for me? And there's also the opportunity for a school leader to create a video speaking directly to prospective candidates about this is what our team is like, here's our culture, here's where our school is and what it's like to live in our community. And that information just doesn't exist out there.
Now, you both gave up terrific jobs. Monroe, you were a vice president at the Kauffman Foundation. Alicia, you mentioned you were at Teach for America, executive director of a national organization. You both gave them up for this. Now, teachers don't pay a dime to be part of this service. So how are you making money?
So it's an annual subscription for our school customers, which ranges for a single-site school at about $1,000 a year, up to $25,000 for a district of 50 schools.
So how many schools have signed up then for the service thus far? You've just launched this service.
That's right. So we launched the service in late February, so we've been running for just over 2 months now. We have over 100 schools in 17 states on the site that are using MyEdMatch to recruit teachers. And we got some really good news last week. We have our very first match on MyEdMatch, and I can't remember, it's a school in Houston?
It's a school in Houston, a YES prep school, and they found a teacher that has 3 years of experience living in Arizona somewhere. I hadn't even heard of the town or the city, but they were able to connect and otherwise likely wouldn't have found each other, and were an excellent fit and went through the interview process, and he'll be moving there and joining their team next year.
Monroe, the fact that you're now being able to take what is an education field when you were at Kauffman, and the other big strength of Kauffman, which was entrepreneurship.
That's right.
You're bringing them both together.
I'd like to believe that Ewing Kauffman, if he were alive today, would be very proud of what it is that Alicia and I are trying to do. Teach for America is a grantee of the Kauffman Foundation. We're actually trying to solve a problem that both Alicia and I separately saw in our respective work, at Teach for America and the Kauffman Foundation. And our hope is that not only will we be able to do something that improves education, which is something that you and Kauffman care deeply about, but also contributes to the startup environment in Kansas City and I guess the larger entrepreneurial experience here in the United States.
Alrighty, Alicia Herold, Monroe Richardson, thank you so much for being with us on The Local Show. You can find out all about myedmatch.com on thelocalshow.org. All the details are there.
We all know about the National Spelling Bee, but for 25 years now, there's also been the National Geographic Bee for students in grades 4 through 8. In that time, only about 2% of the competitors have been girls, and only 2 have won the $25,000 first prize. Just so happens that 2 of the finalists have a Kansas City connection, and one of them is a girl. Education reporter Lindsay Fote spent some time preparing for the big day with Prani Nalluri and Avril Misra.
Could you name the major cities in Peru at age 12? Or for that matter, right now? Prani Nalluri uses rhythms to help her remember geography facts.
Talara and Piura and Chiclayo and Trujillo and Chibote and Callao and Lima.
Although she's reluctant to do it on camera. She's one of 6 girls that will compete in this year's National Geographic Bee, and is the first girl ever to win the Kansas State Geography Bee.
I didn't really notice I was the first girl till people started coming up to me and shaking my hands like, "Hi, you're the first girl." And I'm like, wow. So it was exciting, and I felt like Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton was one of the first ladies to run for president, and so I felt like Hillary Clinton because I was the first girl to win.
This was not, however, Prani's first geography bee. Last year, she was nearly a finalist at the state competition in Missouri. Losing that competition motivated Prani to study harder for next year.
I took a weekend of grief. I had a weekend of grief after that, and then I kind of recovered and got back onto my normal studying schedule and doubled my efforts for this.
On a weekend, Prani says she can spend 6 to 8 hours a day studying atlases and other geography books. Rather than test herself using apps or online games, she has her parents quiz her.
So I like reading books and studying from books and not computers as much.
10-year-old Avril Misra is this year's state finalist from Missouri. Until last year, Prani and Avril were classmates and competitors at Academy Montessori International.
I got runners-up last year. She won from the Kansas side this year, so, and I really wanted to beat her last year, but it didn't. I couldn't.
Classroom geography competitions start as early as kindergarten, which both Avril and Prani credit for their strong interest in geography.
I knew all the state capitals when I was 4, so, and then in the lower elementary, we had geography tests, and that was really interesting to me.
Avril, who's in 5th grade this year, is on the young end of eligible competitors, and he says he didn't expect to make it this far.
I never thought I would win it, so, and when I got into the top 10, I knew that I already had a lot of bragging rights, so that's why I just kept cool.
Since the students are able to compete through 8th grade, both Prani and Avril plan to continue participating in the bee for several more years. Prani and Avril face each other and 53 other students in Washington, D.C. on May 23rd.
And the National Geographic Bee will be shown on KCPT the day after the competition, Friday, May 24th at 1 p.m.
Jewish community centers sprang up in many American cities around the turn of the 20th century, in part because Jews were excluded from other organizations.
But unlike the YMCA, for example, these centers didn't focus solely on physical fitness. They also stressed the growth of the whole person, including artistic endeavors.
In this installment of our Perform Arts series, in conjunction with KC Studio Magazine, we'll take you out to Overland Park to see some of the impressive work going on inside the Jewish Community Center of Greater Kansas City, a place its own cultural arts director calls the best-kept secret around.
There you are. Thank you very much.
Well, we're the Jewish Community Center, but that doesn't mean we just cater to the Jewish community. We cater to the community at large. Part of our goal is to have a balance of content that is not specifically Jewish and content that is. So any content that's not specifically Jewish, I try to make a Jewish connection to.
I had a dream, a wonderful dream.
Jewish Mother Month was a stretch. And that was a Jewish Life and Learning program that was running in conjunction with what I was doing, because Jewish mothers are seen as pushing their kids into being things that they're not quite ready to be. Similar to what Rose does to Gypsy Rose Lee. So that was a stretch, but it turned out to be a really good project. That Jewish Mother Wall was engagement of our audience. They created art, and every time I went past it, it grew. The first couple weeks I got here, we did Avenue Q, and I made Avenue Q have a Jewish connection. And they decided if you can do that, you can do anything. And so I've been making Jewish connections to non-Jewish content for quite some time now, which is really easy because Jewish values are human values. And so it's really easy to take any kind of stage play and find a Jewish value or a Jewish cultural historical moment and attach them.
In February, following every performance of the Tony Award-winning musical Next to Normal, Krista convened a panel of mental health professionals and families touched by the play's subject matter, bipolar disorder.
Something on the order of 60% or better.
Not your typical topic for a post-show talk, but one that seemed to generate plenty of discussion.
I think of my job as having the 4 E's. I think you need to entertain, and then perhaps educate if you choose, and then you can dig a little deeper and become enlightened and become engaged. And so Next to Normal allowed our audience to participate on one of those 4 levels. And many, many people were both engaged and enlightened in the end, and that's the goal of what we do here.
And I don't sit at work just waiting for the phone to ring. It's a good thing.
You get spoiled working here. You think of community theater, you don't think of a facility like this, just because of the lights and the pit, and they can bring in an orchestra and they have the fly system, and they can do really massive stuff here that you couldn't do a lot of places.
This is the second production that I've done here. I was blessed to be a part of Gypsy back in the fall, and now a part of Anne Frank.
Amsterdam is your home. Your business is here waiting for you.
I've worked in professional theaters. Some of them have not been able to hold a candle to this facility.
Thank you. See you later.
All this does have an historical precedent, dating back to 1932, when the Resident Theater was founded at the original Jewish Community Center on Linwood. In the 60s, it moved out to their new location at 82nd and Holmes, producing more of what was reviewed as the best community theater in America until 1983. 8 years ago, the White Theater opened in the center's sprawling campus on 115th Street.
Places, please, for the top of Act 1.
During that time, every production they've mounted has been directed by this man, Mark Swayze, bringing a crisp, consistent standard of excellence that resonates with audiences and actors alike, and helps ensure that even the most sensitive, nuanced material will be given the kind of treatment usually found only on professional stages.
We really need to make sure that, we're not just up here pretending to be somebody we're not for a couple hours, that we're creating the story. The little details, everything from the Hanukkah celebration to the prayers. Our audience is going to be full of individuals who live that lifestyle, who understand what that culture is like.
So I'm going to have them come in between the Miller Marley Rental.
When I think community theater, I think Waiting for Guffman. That's a stereotype that we would want to break, because there's nothing like Waiting for Guffman going on our stage, except that our community is engaged with what's going on our stage. When you think about Waiting for Guffman, it's ridiculous and it's funny, but that whole town cared really deeply about what was going on. And that's what we have here. We have a whole community of people who have the opportunity to grow as performers and as actors and as musicians, because we're here to help them grow. And that's a big part of what we do.
Live theater, musical or otherwise, isn't all that takes place on stage here. This year's Cultural Arts Series included a Jewish boy band and a Jewish gospel singer. Also, White Theater plays host to the Jewish Film Festival every fall. And though technically not part of the series Krista puts together, this hometown hero did drop by last winter to share some of his recent work and a few snippets of his politically tinged deadline poetry.
His plan turned out to have a glitch. Perhaps the feds had flipped to snitch. So much for Rod Blagojevich.
So we have a Jewish life and learning program, which is why Calvin Trillin was here, because we do large book events. And it's fantastic because Rainy Day Books wants to share book events with us because we have the space to really pull the people in. And so that's another benefit of our space, is that we can do not just performing arts events, but other types of cultural events that bring in the larger community.
It's a great facility to either come watch a show at or be in a show. Obviously you don't have to be Jewish to work here, which is part of the appeal of the facility itself. Is they're very inclusive and they're always welcoming to all people.
The challenge of getting people in the building is a big one, but once they're here, they come back. And one of the best things about our program is our patrons are fantastically loyal. Where most theater organizations in particular are struggling with lowering season tickets, ours stay steady or grow. Our patrons come back from year to year and buy season tickets from year to year and are really invested in what we do here.
The center's season will conclude with Hairspray, July 13th through the 28th in the White Theater, which will then move out to Johnson County's Theater in the Park, the first time that arrangement has ever been tried.
And that's all the time we have on this edition. I'm Nick Haynes.
And I'm Randy Mason. Thanks for watching.
Principal funding for the local show provided by Francis Family Foundation, Frederick and Louise Hartwig Family Fund, Kaufman Foundation, Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, Johnson County Community College, John and Effie Spees Memorial Trust, Bank of America trustee, Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Arts, Commerce Bank trustee, and KCPT members. Thank you.